Okay, so Sean, we talked about Predator.
We did.
We we
We didn't just talk about it. I think we took a long damn time talking about it.
we took forever talking about it.
We felt like it took forever talking about it.
I definitely felt forever. So, that was just us bullshitting. But now we're
gonna go a little bit serious.
We're gonna go a little bit serious because this film is very serious, and this is a film that I personally hold dear to my heart, and it's Full Metal Jacket.
Full Metal, yeah, definitely Full Metal Jacket. Stanley Kubrick film.
Stanley Kubrick film. It was made in premiered in 1988, and I think it only had one Oscar nomination, if I'm correct. But all that aside, I fell in love with this film when I was like 16, I would have to say, and it still holds up after so many years of watching it. Recently watched it again, like about 2 weeks ago, about a month ago, right?
It was about a month ago we watched it.
Yeah.
It was actually my first time watching it. So for Renee, it's been one of his favorite films he's always wanted to show me. But I've actually never had the opportunity. See, the thing is, when it comes to Stanley Kubrick films, I haven't really seen as many. All I've seen is basically 2001: Space Odyssey and parts of The Shining. So for seeing this one, especially he holds it so dearly to himself that I feel like I really had to take the chance on this film, and I think the best way I can put it is it really did deliver. Yeah. So we should basically just go get into this.
So, with that being said, we are going to dive on scenes that we think is important that create the entirety and make the film so impactful, as you might say.
Yeah.
I probably sound like a fucking kook, but anyways.
we're goofballs, guys. You gotta keep up with us.
That's all that we are. Just a bunch of fucking goofballs.
This is what happens when you basically give an apple to a bunch of chimpanzees. We figured out, we found an apple,
we found out how to peel it.
We're gonna try to peel it with our hands, with our nails. That's our idea. That kind of sounds horrible now I think about it.
Yeah. So. Here it is.
So let's start off with the beginning of the film. So the beginning of the film comes out to it's a song, and it comes out to a couple guys, basically all getting their hair chopped off.
Yeah, we don't know who they are.
We don't know any idea who they are, but they're all getting their head shaved, correct?
Yeah, and just like it's honestly just a bunch of like fast junk cups of different men getting their hair shaved pretty fucking brutally.
Which I thought was really interesting because if you look at them, like as they both each of them are getting their head shaved. At first glance, you think about it, especially when considering that I've seen the film. At first glance, it just seems like a bunch of guys just getting their hair cut, right?
Yeah.
But when you really look at it, it's kind of like they were all individually different. Each person that was getting their hair cut was like they had different facial expressions.
Yeah.
And I felt like that kind of made it like led it up to like this idea that throughout the film you didn't notice it in the beginning. When you rewatch it, you can kind of really see it. But
yeah, they're all different people.
They're all different kinds of people, but they're all getting stripped from like their individuality. Like they're all being turned into like
a single mold.
A single mold, basically, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
Considering like they all look like they had their own individual personality in the beginning of the film.
Yeah. So that's actually kind of like what I thought of. Not when I first saw the film, because when I first saw the film, I was 16, didn't know anything about films. It was just like, I was just, they're getting their hair cut, whatever. That's what they do in the Marines. But it's like them stripping off their identity and making them all into one, making them into a Marine. Now,
so this goes into, I believe, from there on, it goes into we get introduced to Sergeant Gunnery. Hartman, basically the main sergeant throughout the film, and what's pretty awesome is he's a fucking beast of a man. This man, you would think like, which is pretty funny because
this
like
guy fought in both world wars. He fought in every war. He probably has like so many medals awarded to him for his outstanding achievements in the Marines, and so he pretty much loves the Marines. The Marines are him. He is a Marine. He is full-fledged a gunnery sergeant Marine.
And you could definitely tell that he's been through it. He's been through it. He understands it, and he knows what he must do. And in the beginning of the film, for me, the first time watching it, I thought it was just pretty comical because you just see this guy verbally abusing each and every one of these Marines that are basically being taught to become Marines, and you can just tell each and every one of them they're getting verbally abused, but it's comical. At first glance, you're like, "Oh my god!" I mean, this is pretty funny. This guy's telling this one fucking guy like, "Well, you like." Even some of the jokes are even racial, like
just racial, blatant, stripping them, pretty much just stripping them of who they are. One of the first things he says, "You guys aren't even human fucking beings."
he just shits on him, and that's you get really introduced to our main character, Joker, which is his name's. It's Private Joker. His actual name though
is Matthew Bodine, I think.
Yes, I think.
Sorry if I fucking butchered his name, but anyways, he was in Stranger Things.
Was he really in Stranger Things?
Yeah, he was in Stranger Things. But
his name is it is Matthew Bodine. That's Modine, correct? Yeah,
Modine. Oh, there you go, something like that. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, but
that's the actor's name. His name is basically in the movie. His real name is Private Davis, but they refer to him as Joker.
Joker throughout like the entire thing.
Yeah. Well, this is where you first get introduced to Joker, which also starts off with him talking about. He makes a joke, a John Wayne joke.
He's like, "Is that you, Pilgrim? Or is that me? Or is that you, John Wayne?"
And Sergeant Gunnery just basically fucking destroys him. Gives this guy a solid left fucking body shot like he's fucking Derek Lewis. This dude drops to the fucking ground. I'm like, oh shit, he's about to throw off his pants like he's Derek Lewis too. What the fuck's going on here?
But it's very interesting what he asks him. He asks him, "Why are you here?" And he says, "To kill." And he's like, "Oh, so you're a killer. Show me your war face." And then he screams at him, and he's like, "That's not a fucking war face. This is a war face."
Which also you're also introduced to the next character. He's pretty I think important to the film. It's Private Lawrence. He's also nicknamed Gomer Pyle.
He's only referenced as Pyle.
He's referenced as Pyle.
The only one that doesn't call him Pyle is Joker.
Yeah, Joker,
which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's like a humbling kind of thing, just to kind of treat him like he's not as a human, which I think really is what the film's trying to push to you. Like you can feel that's kind of where it's going. But so from there on, we go to like these montages of basically them training, and you recognize that Sergeant Gunnery is vicious. We already got that established.
We established that very hard.
Which is pretty funny because you get to see this guy running around with them.
Yeah.
Like jogging with them. He's all, "Move your fat fucking ass."
But the thing is that from the beginning, he said he is a mean son of a bitch, but he is fair.
Yeah, that's definitely shown.
He said he is fair. He treats everybody the same. He gives everybody the same treatment. He talks shit to everybody, and he talks to everybody equally. He doesn't pick favorites. He isn't that type of guy.
And you also notice too that he's trying to motivate them.
He is really
in the worst way possible. But if you think about it, if you're going to go into like this military warfare, the only motivation around you is somebody yelling at you, which is your only thing you're going to have left. You have to learn to respond in a critical area. If you were to be like, "Hey, don't worry, let's work it out," like that's not going to work in this kind of situation. You have to be extreme, and you have to be able to handle that. And you can kind of see throughout the training, throughout the beginning of the film especially. So Joker's being trained, and he seems like he's kind of struggling in the beginning as well. Throughout the beginning of the film, because he's not physically fit, and it doesn't seem like his mentality is completely adjusted to the kind of lifestyle that you have to be a Marine. Yeah. Because you are a group, you are a family, you are a team. Mm-hmm. And Private Pyle, who is the Private Lawrence, who is... frankly, he's this little bit strange one. I wouldn't say he has a mental disability. I wouldn't reference that. Well, at least not yet.
Not yet.
But he seems like he's a little bit peculiar. He's the kind of guy, the oddball out, who joined it. Seemed like he had some skill, and he was just a peculiar guy, and he looked like he was trying to get away. And he was trying to find his own new life. Yeah. And he thought that you definitely can tell by his personality that he didn't have that kind of that kind of similarity as people. You could tell he had trouble kind of fitting in with people, and he thought this was his opportunity to kind of be around people, and people would accept him for who he was.
Yeah,
and you could definitely it definitely shows in the beginning of the film too that that Pyle fails a lot.
Yeah, fuck. And he fails miserably,
horrifically.
He just drops to the floor, fails. He tries to do one pull-up. He can't do a pull-up. He can't climb over, like, I don't know, this giant, like, 2-story high, like, ladder-type obstacle. He just can't. He can't get over the top. And Gunnery Sergeant Hartman is just screaming at him, "Get the fuck off of my obstacle!" Just screaming in his face, belittling the man, and making him into the type of person that what he really was. And he is not a Marine, and it's shown from the beginning he's not a Marine, and he's not that type of person.
I thought was really interesting because when you look at it, it's comical. If you watch it originally the first time, you're kind of like, this is funny, you know. It's a guy, he's kind of the failure, and you're built to believe, like, when I first frankly saw it, I was thinking, they're going to rise this guy up. They're going to make him an important character to the movie, where you see how the changings in the character development, that he would become a greater soldier. You're not given that. No. You're not given that at all.
You're given something completely
different, especially considering. So you kind of see it. You kind of see it within. There's shots throughout the film. In the beginning, especially, you see the other soldiers looking at him.
Yeah.
But they're not looking at him like. At first they want to help him, but then there's like this feeling of, for them to be together is to he needs to be eliminated, whatever it takes. If he's going to be tough, if Sergeant Gunnery is going to be tough, then the privates need to be tough on Pyle. Which you get some extreme ways of being treated violently because of that.
Which is to a scene that we both picked out and thought that was pretty vicious on itself, is when the other men hold him down and beat him with bars of soap. And it's interesting the way they did that, because I've heard, I don't know if this is true, but bars of soap don't leave bruises.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've heard this, and this is my fucking friend telling me that bars of soap don't leave bruises. So that's probably what they thought, like, oh, we don't know what the hell he's talking about. He's just a loose end or whatever. And then he, like they said, it's just a bad dream. So what I'm trying to say is that they hold him down, and everyone in their camp, in their whole camp, which is at least 30 to 50 men, beating this poor guy.
And what's really interesting too is that, so they build this character. Sergeant Gunnery really emphasized that he's failing too much. That Pyle's failing too much. So he decided to put Joker with Pyle, because obviously Joker was one of the more advanced ones. He was getting it really quick. He was very smart and witty, so he was getting it very quickly. So he put Joker with him to help him develop, and they kind of created a bond between the two, and you could sense between the two that they were understanding each other, and in a certain extent, Joker was trying to help him, not out of compassion, but out of his determination to achieve his goal. I don't think that Pyle necessarily felt that way. I think Pyle literally was seeing him more as a humanity side, as he did not want to let it go. He was finding this friendship with Joker that didn't exist. Realistically, there was no friendship there, but Pyle, being so deprived from it, I think that you could just sense it.
He latched on.
He latched on to Joker in the sense that he was like his first brother, friend, family. Yeah. This was his opportunity that he was wanting. This is what he needed, and you could tell. So we're back to the bar soap scene.
Oh, where they beat him.
Where they beat him, Joker hesitates. He hesitates. He's the last person, and as he looks at everyone, his partner.
His name is. They call him Cowboy.
Cowboy, which is later on is a more viable character in the film. He tells him, "Go for it. What are you doing?
Do it.
Do it." And as he does that, Joker grabs the bar soap and starts beating him. And at first, you can notice it's a hit. He looks at him, and Pyle's crying.
Yeah.
He hits him again, bam, bam, bam. Then gets out of there, tries to go to sleep, but Pyle's on top.
Yeah.
So they're like sleeping on a bunker
bed.
Yeah,
they're both in bunks together. Pyle and Joker are bunking together at this point. And so, like, after all of that happened, Joker beats the shit out of him. He ducks under his bed and lays in bed. And then the last thing Cowboy says is, remember, it's just a bad dream, fat boy. And then he runs off. And then Pyle is just there in complete agony, crying.
And he's crying.
This grown man just broken and crying in a bed and all throughout the hall.
I think that at that point in the film, there's that idea that what Sergeant was trying to do was he was basically trying to break their individual humanity between each other, their personalities. He wanted to be together as one, and to do that, he needed to turn them into as generic as a soldier as they can be. Yeah. It's not to be generic, more that they needed to be a team, a group. And they were trying to break Pyle, but at that point, I think that didn't just break Pyle. It mentally changed his outlook on what he thought life was at that point in time. And I think that right there also had an effect on Joker, because as Joker sits there underneath the bed with Pyle struggling to crying, I think not just physically but mentally and emotionally, you can see that Joker is covering his ears because he's not necessarily mad that he's crying. He's hurting himself.
Yeah.
You could tell that Joker was affected by it emotionally as well. Yeah. And from there on out, they keep training. Pyle gets better on his own. But Joker does talk to Cowboy about it, and he notices that Pyle's starting to act kind of strange.
Yeah.
He's talking to himself.
Yeah, Joker told Cowboy he think he might be a Section 8. Section 8 pretty much just going fucking bananas and mentally becoming unstable.
Which, strangely, they start doing training, and Pyle starts getting on guns, and they start to recognize that Pyle's very skilled with the guns. He's actually the most skilled. And that's where Sergeant Gunnery recognizes, he's like, wow, he's very skilled. This is something he's good at, and he actually is proud of him. So this pushes them all to a certain extent. They all pass. And as they're all passing, they're congratulating to them, and they're congratulating them all. But you can see that Pyle is no longer that innocent older man. He's been broken. He's been tarnished, and he's toxic. And it goes to them in a sequence where it's another scene we picked out because we think it was a very important moment in the film.
It's probably one of the most important
moments. If not the most important, this either the second to the most important. This is where the film changes completely.
This is pretty much the ending of the first half.
It feels like the first half of the film ended. So Private Joker, what they do is they take turns watching guard. It's just practice. It's not really necessarily anything that's going to go on, but they're just practicing to for training within themselves.
Training purposes.
Yeah. And you can tell, so Pyle's not there, and Joker goes to check the restrooms, and as he goes to check the restrooms, he finds Pyle with his gun. And I believe it's I think it's M14. M14, I think, was the gun that they were using. I'm probably wrong, but it definitely was a rifle.
He had a rifle, and he was loading the magazine with I don't know the exact caliber, but they were full metal jackets, which are armor piercing. Like those shells can pierce through like tanks. Okay. That's what they're used for. Just like pierce through tanks and stuff like that. So Joker notices that, and then as soon as everything happens, Pyle comes up and he starts doing the chant, I think.
It's more like their march lingo. That's for basically like the old school standards of how to present yourself in front of the military personnel.
Yeah, I don't know if it's still used today. It maybe I'm not.
I doubt that's what they use for, like in combat.
No,
you don't have time.
not.
But it's just a traditional way they used to just, present themselves.
Yeah, so it's him doing this
stance.
Ritual stance, and then everyone hears it, and he's yelling at it.
But
like,
he's
left shoulder, right shoulder, lock and load. He jams the magazine.
That's where the infamous line comes out. The full metal jacket.
Yeah,
because he puts a full metal jacket inside the rifle itself.
Full metal jackets. So everyone wakes up. Gunnery Sergeant Hartman wakes up, and he's just like, he looks at everybody, get the fuck back in your bunks.
Which is pretty comical.
I mean, from us, from a normal audience, he does seem comical. Like, oh, he's just shitting on him, but really, he's just trying to fucking toughen these guys out.
It's what realistically is happening.
Yeah.
Like this is what something the kind of way you would expect them to be treating you.
That, exactly what you said. But he goes into the bathroom and he sees Gunnery Sergeant Powell, and he just sees Joker and Powell, and he just starts fucking ripping on him. Like, why is Powell up after hours? Why does Powell have a magazine? Why are you two in the bed? And then Joker informs him that he has a rifle that is locked and loaded. And that's when Hartman kind of like changes his like attitude a little bit. This is the first time we actually see him change like his attitude. And it's stern, but it's also like
you can tell this is the certain point in the film that basically the sergeant is no longer. You can tell that this situation is not familiar.
Yeah, he hasn't handled this.
He hasn't handled the situation, and he tries to control it.
Best he can.
Best he can from what he's been in his experience, and at that point, Pyle is lost. Pyle has gone insane, and
what he does is he holds the gun, holds it to him, and then that's when Hartman gets pissed off, and he just said,
"But I think he's pissed off because that's the way he's been used to handling the situation.
That's the way he's been wired to think that way, to handle that situation.
He thinks that's the only way to fix Pyle, but Pyle needed some nourishment. He needed some sort of compassion that he could not find there.
Yeah.
He lost that.
Maybe he would have found it with Joker, but
Joker was too busy trying to find his own way of not being such an individual and just being the soldier that they wanted him to become.
Yeah.
So basically, Pyle gets yelled at by Hartman, and you see Hartman get too close. Pyle lets a round go, boom, blows Hartman in the chest completely.
Yeah, fucking instantly.
Instantly. Goes down dead, bleeding out, he's dead. Joker's in shock, he cannot believe what's going on. He looks at
Pyle. Pyle looks at him, he points the gun at Pyle. Joker stands back, he holds his hands up, and he just says, take it easy,
Take it easy, man.
Just take it easy. And
which is, I think, is really interesting because Pyle does that, looks at him. When he was killing Hartman, he had that cynical look. He looked at he looked at Joker, and he recognized, you know what? Like in his head, I think he just felt. This is just me personally, what I think. I think he knew that if there was anybody else in that room, he would have shot them. But because it was Joker, and he was the only person he found some sort of bond with, that he frankly couldn't find. But to still be portrayed by Joker, he had no more meaning to live. He thought that was how all humans were. That's how he thought how all people could be. He was a guy that you could just tell was lost, and he came there to be found. And instead of being found, which throughout the rest of the scene, you find out he goes and sits down in the restroom, on the toilet, and he grabs the rifle and he puts it in his mouth and he blows his brains out.
Blows his fucking head off.
Completely blows his head off. Joker's shocked, and it's like, holy cow. They go on from there,
Like, oh boy, Sean, Full Metal Jacket sure is boring, but I just want to take a break. Can we take a break?
Breaks are nice. That sounds like a great idea, Renee. You know what sounds good? Taking a shit. This is your chance. Go take one.
Alright, I'm gonna take a shit.
From the award-winning composer, Carlos Cooper presents to you Hybrid Records, the #1 retailer in Corpus Christi to offer you vinyl records with the largest variety of genres, from hip-hop, R&B, metal, hardcore, ska, jazz, and even movie soundtracks. They really have it all. Hybrid Records also sells turntables, speakers, CDs, DVDs, Blu-rays, field notes, and even the rare Criterion Blu-ray/DVDs. So why don't you get off that couch and come by to 42033 South Alameda Street in Corpus Christi, Texas. Or you could always look them up online at hybridrecordsdx.com. Accepting pre-orders now.
Transitions into
The future, basically.
pretty much after everything, after all they get off of the island, it just like transitions into when they are in Vietnam.
Yeah, and this is where basically, so you find out that everybody's already been earlier throughout the film. It's explained like which each of their positions are, and what each of them were going to be. And basically, Joker becomes basically like a journalist, and
A field journalist,
or he was basically finding out what was going on and reporting it. But what was really interesting about him was he wasn't. So he went into the military to become a soldier, but when he became a journalist, he wanted to make a lot of stories about the negatives that were going on within the war.
Well, he wanted to tell the truth.
He wanted to tell basically the truth of what was going on.
And yeah, so he tried that. He tried to write articles of telling like what was happening.
But his new sergeant, which is I don't necessarily know his name, but his new sergeant declines that and doesn't believe that that's important right now. That it should be trying to win the war and to support basically the other all the military to be supportive of each other.
You want America on your side.
Yeah.
Trying to say you can't have America on your side when you're printing the truth, pretty much, because what was happening in Vietnam wasn't particularly positive.
Yeah. That's definitely true. And I think so. They end up sending like Joker and his partner. I believe his name is Rafterman. Him and his partner Rafterman, which Rafterman always wanted to get into the shit.
That's what they call it, this shit.
Rafterman,
pretty much just a war zone.
He wanted to always get into the war zone. He wanted to get the rifle. He always wanted to be that guy that gets to shoot that gun and fight for the American flag and be that guy.
Real patriotic
Marine. So they get sent off, and so basically his boss, which is the sergeant, sends Joker and Rafterman to go to an actual field because he doesn't feel like he's had time. I guess I don't know if it's some sort of punishment. I just think he wanted him to get closer to it.
Yeah.
And as they're both sent, they get sent on this helicopter ride. So they get with one of these military personnel that he's shooting a lot of soldiers. He's shooting a lot of the Vietnamese.
And we don't know if they are soldiers or if they are.
And he explains it himself. He says, sometimes they're wives, sometimes they're mothers, sometimes they're children. It doesn't matter. He says, you just gotta keep shooting. It doesn't matter what they are, and you can just tell he
made actually a really cool joke. He said if you're running, and it's actually a racist slur, but if you're running like, I'm not gonna say it, but a running Vietnamese, then you are a dead Vietnamese. But
so basically,
yeah,
you can tell it.
And that's when Joker asks, like, even women, children, and he's just like, ain't war hell? And then he laughs and continues to fucking mow down like these innocent people.
And he has basically like a minigun inside of his.
Yeah, it's I don't know what the specific gun is called, but I always called it a saw.
Yeah, all he is just mowing them basically all down, and it's quite interesting because you get Joker, who's this kind of complex character where you can tell he's
very split character.
He's a split character. He wanted to be a soldier, but he's still he's human and his humanity, and he can see he has compassion for people.
Yeah.
And asking that question definitely showed that he did not agree with that. But that's the kind of soldier you had to become. You can't be that kind of soldier to just hesitate and not shoot. You're in war.
If you hesitate, you die.
You hesitate, you die. And they're not thinking that on the other side. At least they shouldn't be thinking that on the other side. So he gets to meet up with the rest of his, basically the new military crew that he's meeting up with.
Well, the ones that he's
been assigned to.
Kind of investigating, I guess, I'm tagging along with. He goes up to them and they're just like, oh, we're from Stars and Stripes. And they're like, oh, really? Stars and Stripes? And he's like, yeah, we'll make you famous. And so they start like asking him everything. And then he's just like, they go into it and he asks him, what has happened here? And then he's just like, well, we'll show you.
That's where he meets Animal Mother, if I'm correct, right?
No. That does happen, but this happens before. He asks the lieutenant of the platoon. Like,
Touchdown?
I don't know.
Touchdown's the one he meets when he gets out of the helicopter. And they go down and he starts to walk and they show him to the rest of the book.
It might be him, but he was like, hey, I got a friend. His name is, I got a friend. You know where he's at? He's like, oh, he's in this. But before that, it's a very interesting scene. What I always thought was crazy is where they showed a massive grave of these dead Viet Cong. Or no, I don't think it was Viet Cong, but it might be just Vietnamese people. Anyways, dead people covered in lime. And he says one of the most interesting things that I've taken away from this movie, and it is that the dead only know one thing, and it's better to be alive. So what that comes down to is that they all start, he asks what happened and he tells them, and then the sergeant, the real big guy in the platoon, asks him, goes up to him and asks him, like, what's up with that peace symbol?
Oh, yeah.
He says, what's up with that peace symbol? And he says, he's like, where did you get that peace symbol? He said, I don't know. He's like, you have a peace symbol on your chest and a born to kill on your helmet? What is that, some sort of sick joke? He's like, I don't know, sir. And he's just like, you don't know a lot, do you? He says...
It really explains his personality, too.
It really explains his
because he's
opinions.
such a split person.
Yeah.
He's like... it's like an idea that he's...
Which I think is genius in this type of film.
Yeah. Especially considering, like, it feels like he's battling two different ideas in his head.
Yeah, he legit is wondering about the duality of man. It's just like the purpose of man. Of like, why are they doing this? Why is this happening?
It's basically what he wants to... His goals and his purpose are like... They're like basically... like dividing each other. They're hitting each other head to head. And I think that seems really interesting too, because it shows that like the sergeant explains to him like, hey, you can't fucking do that. Like we are in war, and right now we don't need you kind of guys to be here right now.
You need to be on our side.
You need to be on our side.
And he said, and Joker's just like, okay, I will be.
Yeah,
pretty much just saying, okay.
So he's like, okay, I will be, and that's where he gets met up. From there on, he gets introduced to like the rest of the team, if I'm correct, right? Because they walk through the whole battle zone.
They walk into. He meets up with his old friend that he
cowboy,
a cowboy on the island, and they hit it off really well.
Yeah, they hit it off really well, and then he also gets introduced to Animal Mother, who is a really interesting character.
And I'm guessing this is a character that you thought was very interesting.
Animal Mother is the one that had the I am become death on the top of his helmet. Had all the mags on his all over his
one of the finest human beings on the earth.
Yeah, and he's referred to, which is really interesting because in the beginning they kind of go at it. Animal Mother is kind of like trying to go at him face to face, verbally trying to see who's superior. And they're completely two different kind of characters.
Yeah, but they're still standing their own ground.
They're both standing each other's ground, which I think is really interesting because Animal Mother's like this fearless military like soldier who has no fear of what's
almost
ahead.
No emotion,
and the only thing he has become the soldier that they needed. He's
perfect killing machine, perfect killing soldier.
I think he's the perfect soldier for them because he is the soldier that the only thing he cares about, which you find out later on, is his team. if that could kind of be a weakness, because if he was really just a corporate killing soldier, in a certain sense, there's necessarily a certain point where when the mission fails and your friends or your fellow soldiers go down, there's a possibility you can't save them, and that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
But Animal Mother refuses that. I give him so much credit for that, because he will do whatever it takes to save his fellow man.
Yeah.
So he meets Animal Mother. They kind of go through the sequences of getting to know each other. You get to know that they ended up getting some sort of prostitute of Vietnamese. And it's pretty
that's
weird.
Probably one of the most disgusting parts of the film.
Really strange.
We're watching it today versus watching it when I was 16. When I was like 16, it didn't register in my mind, but watching it today is pretty fucking...
It's pretty messed up when you think about it.
Yeah, it's pretty gross.
Because they're just selling her out.
Yeah.
And we're fighting for, like, the freedom, if you think about it.
But they're over here fucking Vietnamese.
Yeah, they're trying to fight for the freedom of Vietnam, but at the same time they're fucking this Vietnam prostitute. She's basically like, I wouldn't consider her a slave, but she's working to giving her body, and that's just like, it's contradicting. If you know what I mean? It's like very contradicting. So basically, this happens, and then from there we get this interview sequence.
Yeah.
Where each of them are basically interviewed.
Which is also one of the most... I think it just develops into each character's like opinions, and it honestly divides them, and it's not turning them into specific soldiers anymore. It's turning them into individuals,
which I think is really interesting too, because you're built upon. So the same reporters keep asking them about the Vietnam War and what they think from the outside perspective, and what they think should happen.
Yeah, you get a multiple of
and answers. Some of them respond like Cowboy responds that he thinks that they should
win.
They should win, and he's pretty pissed off that why are the Vietnam people that they're helping, why do they not like them? Because he's trying to help them. Like, what the hell's going on? Animal Mother is like, maybe all it would take if we just dropped a nuke on the north, and then we send some guys down there. That's all it would take. But each of them kind of have the similar kind of ideas. Yeah. And what's really interesting too is the character Rafterman.
Yeah, Rafterman. He just completely...
He completely is trying to be the soldier that he always dreamed of. The Captain America.
Yeah, the
Captain America of soldiers.
Of the Marines.
Of the Marines. And he's basically like stating like he is ready at any time. He's going to go in there. He's going to kill these Vietnamese people to prove that he is superior and that the United States is powerful, and that he is fighting for their freedom. And that's where you're supposed to be looking at it, right? Because that's the way you should, that he wants you to see it.
Yeah.
But if you notice, each of the other military personnel, some of them disagree. Some of them say that they think it's a waste of time. And some of them, even one of the African American characters says, if it feels like no one cares.
Like, we're fighting for these people's freedom, and
they don't even care. And I think that a lot of them, they all kind of recognize that, and they all still want to fight, but they still say, like, they ask them questions like, do you think you believe you should be in Vietnam? And most of them say they do. But I think that also could be for the fact that they've been stripped of everything.
Yeah.
So if there was no Vietnam, if there was no war, what is their purpose? They've lost that. And what's really interesting is because they go to the final question, and they go to Joker. And Joker answers the question, and he basically states that he wanted to go to Vietnam to see... I don't know if it's necessarily a joke.
He's
contradicting himself.
He is contradicting himself.
Because he says he wanted to go to Vietnam to see
the southern jewel of Asia.
No, so the jewel of Asia, and he's like looking like at the specific nice parts of what Vietnam is. But then he goes... And then and to get my first confirmed kill.
He said, I wanted to be the first kid in my neighborhood to have a confirmed kill under his belt.
Yeah.
And then that's where the interview stops.
And the interview stops right there. And if you think about it, it sounds like it's a joke.
Yeah, it's very satirical.
It sounds like it's a joke, but it completely defines his character.
Yeah. Because
he's basically saying that one thing, but he ends it with another. So like his goals and his mindset, they're just contradicting themselves. Yeah. So we go on, and they start to move forward, and they're trying to they split up as teams, and they go on and they're trying to figure out, I guess, a way back to their new point, right?
Yeah.
A new checkpoint. And
well, they actually run into some trouble.
Yeah.
After they do the interviews, they meet up with the prostitute, do all that shit, and then they're gonna try to make a shortcut, or they accidentally.
So 8-Ball goes to check and see if
No, hold on. Before that, they get lost.
They get lost.
They get lost, and he said, "Well, because Cowboy is the leader of this platoon. Previously,
Cowboy's leader now because the previous leader got killed,
and the previous leaders got killed. So it was like two before him that had got killed, and he took.
Which
over.
I thought was really interesting too, because I believe Touchdown got killed, and then another sergeant got killed.
The main sergeant that had asked Joker, like, what is that with that peace symbol? He had got killed.
He got killed too.
Like, right off the bat, honestly.
Which was really interesting is that as soon as they got killed, Cowboy would grab the radio and he would be like, "Hey, they got killed," and they're like, "Well, it's up to you, soldier."
Yeah.
And it was so quick and easy,
just like that,
to be handed basically the power
of the platoon.
Of the platoon.
So that happens, and then with Cowboy. He's not the best of leaders, but he's stern.
He thinks about it the smartest way possible.
He is thinking about the smartest way. He is trying to look out for his platoon, and he's trying to make sure that the well-being of the platoon is fine. So, what accidentally happens is that he got lost, and they were walking in the wrong direction. So, what?
8-Ball goes over there to check. He goes. Yeah. He walks up. He says, "I'm gonna go check and see if it's a good shortcut."
Yeah. Well, what their solution was to shortcut through this like little town or whatever, and so 8-Ball goes over there or goes to check in between, or like goes to check if it's all clear or whatever. And what happens with 8-Ball?
He gets completely sniped down.
He fucking brutally.
Completely just destroyed, sniped down.
And it's not like him just like, boom, one shot dead. No, he gets shot and then he is there fucking in pain and agony screaming. Cowboy at this point does not know what the hell to do. So Cowboy's on the fucking phone just like, we need backup. We need tank support. We need tank support. And the guy on the other side is like, we'll see what we can do. Pretty much just like not caring, honestly.
Yeah, and the thing is that Cowboy is trying to wait for the support, but Animal Mother, he's very close to 8-Ball.
Yeah, he's really close.
So he can't just let him die there.
Yeah.
This is beyond. This is what being a soldier was about. They're a family. They're a team. They're brothers. They cannot let each other die. And Animal Mother is so intertwined and in anger that he doesn't care what Cowboy has to say. He doesn't give a shit. He just goes out there to try to save him, and he realizes there is a sniper. But as he realizes that, he recognizes only one sniper.
Yeah.
And because of that, he tells the rest of the platoon to go, "Hey, come help me."
Yeah.
And the rest of the whole platoon comes over there together, and Cowboy tries to analyze the situation and what happens to Cowboy.
Cowboy stands up directly. He tries to make a call. I don't specifically remember what he tried to say, but the sniper did end up shooting him from his back to his chest and burst out. So
he bled out. Joker was like, man.
And it wasn't...
Which was like the emotional push for Joker.
To be honest, this was the most in-depth death that we saw. It wasn't heroic. There wasn't a final last word. There was just Cowboy bleeding out and then slowly dying in the matter of like 10 seconds.
Yeah, and he died... And you could tell this was the point where Joker finally looked like he finally decided upon what kind of soldier he wanted to be.
Yeah.
The soldier he needed to be. And he thought he was ready. So they went into it was kind of like a shaft or like a building.
Yeah.
It was a big building and the sniper was inside there and they found a way in there. And they all worked together to kind of like find where the sniper was.
Yeah, they throw smoke and then they charge the building. They start.
And as they climb through the building, Joker gets to the top first. And as he gets to the top, he finds the sniper. Yeah. And he has his rifle and he has it set up. And he takes for the shot. and he realizes, I'm guessing, either he was out of ammo. I'm not necessarily sure because it's not explained.
He was out
or
of
he had
ammo.
his safety on.
It was just a click out of ammo. So he had no ammo because they all fucking shot at nothing.
But the Vietnamese soldier recognized that, turned
She
around.
heard the click and like he clicked it a couple times. He click, no bullet.
She pulls out her rifle, starts mowing down the wall.
Yeah.
At this point in time, they cut back to Joker just losing control of his weapon completely, in panic, putting his hands on his head like as if he doesn't know how to respond to this, kind of in shock, trying to cover his head, goes for his pistol, has his pistol but no control over it in his hands.
Not even trying to cock it back, but barely trying to cock it back.
And you could tell at this point in time, he was not a soldier. He was not prepared. And the Vietnamese soldier was getting close, and she is pulled over the corner. She was ready, and Rafter Man blows her fucking chest.
The unexpected fucking photographer kills this young Vietnamese.
It was a woman.
Or Vietnamese woman, yeah.
And she's completely blown out of her chest. And as you see that, Joker drops, has his gun, looks around in shock, like he doesn't understand what's going on. Rafter Man is completely unloading all of his clip into her. Every single bullet he has, he's trying to shoot it into her.
Yeah.
And they all walk up, and she's speaking to telling them to kill her. And the rest of the platoon.
She starts praying first. One of the guys says, "What's she saying, man?" And then it's just like it's obvious that she's praying. And after she's done praying, she looks up and she just starts like, in her last breaths, just saying, "Kill me, kill me." And it's just,
which I thought was really interesting because Rafter Man was like, "You let her suffer."
Well,
after considering all the shit she's done to us.
Animal Mother said, "Okay, we gotta go now. Let's go. I'm the new leader." And then Joker's just like, "What do we do about her?" And then Animal Mother's like, he looks down at her for a second and he's just like, "Fuck her. She let the rats eat her," or something like that.
Let her suffer.
Let her suffer. And Joker's like, "Well, we can't just leave her here." And then he's just like, and that's where Animal Mother takes charge of the platoon. He's like, "Cowboy's dead. I'm in charge now." And Joker's like, "All I'm saying is we can't just leave it here." And then he's like, "Okay, do something about it." And Joker gets his pistol and he looks at her.
At this point, I think at that point in the film, when he has the pistol and he looks at her, it was everything culminated to this moment.
It just you can tell that everything that happened previously in the movie was boiling down to this moment, and it was replaying back in his head everything. And his facial expressions, he was just, if he should kill her.
He was so hesitant to kill her, and it's strange because I think when he had that gun, and he looked her in the eyes, killing her is a soldier's job, but I'd say that was the mission of was to take her down and kill her. But him looking at her, you could kind of, frankly, if you think back at it,
you kind of feel sorry for her.
You kind of felt not necessarily sorry for her, but what kind of trauma does he have to go through to be in that situation?
Yeah.
And like Pyle before, he saw Pyle die, but he knew something was wrong with Pyle. I don't think necessarily there was anything wrong with her exactly, but he felt compassion for her that he felt for Pyle.
Yeah.
And when he decided and he blew her brain out, she was dead. It was like a silence. And Rafterman thought it was awesome. He was like, "Wow, that's awesome. Great job for doing that.
Yeah.
Can't believe you did it." But it felt like at that point in the film, and as it goes back and you see them walking, and I believe they're singing the Mickey Mouse song.
Yeah,
right?
M-I-C-K-E-Y, M-O-U-S-E, Mickey Mouse. So I don't know the exact words.
It's like a strange innocence that they're supposed to feel, like they're like innocently doing this.
Yeah.
But you could tell Joker no longer
Joker changed.
Joker changed.
Joker did change.
And I don't believe he changed in the sense that he was... Best way... So we've basically explained the film. We've gone scene by scene and we've talked about it.
Yeah.
But if you were to look at it from that final sequence of the film, I think at that point, Joker made his decision. He's not a soldier. He, no matter what, could not let go of just the moral humanity he has for the compassion for people. And it's built upon throughout the film that each person, they're basically turned into no longer like humans. They're not compassion for each other, other than just as long as they're soldiers.
Yeah. But
Joker was the one. In the film, he was the only one that just could not change, and he did it. The kill, I don't think necessarily meant that he killed her. It was to get her out of her misery. Yeah. It wasn't to be a confirmed kill. It was the moral thing to do. And I think that changed him. He finally made the decision on who he really was. What do you think? What do you think the ending of the film meant? Or what do you think the film meant?
I think, well, the ending of the film, I personally think that everything that the soldiers were talking about, everything that had happened, and everything that Hartman went through, and everything that Hartman was trying to show him, is that if you die, you're in a world of shit. But the thing is, if you stay in the shit too long, you will be in a world of shit. And I think that's what happened to Joker. He was the only one with a complicated backstory and who didn't conform completely.
It was only because he knew knowledgeably what was really going on.
Yeah, because he was a journalist.
So he would sing every story.
Yeah, so he was conflicted on everything about the Vietnam War. So, he just... How do I put it? Joker did not change throughout the film, but he did become something else. He did become not a soldier, but a killer. He became the killer of
which is interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting. I didn't even think about it like that. He said in the beginning of the film, "I'm a killer."
Yeah.
And then at the end of the film, all this build up, and then Hartman told him, "Oh, you think you're a killer?" And then when he was finally given the opportunity to kill somebody, the hesitation was so strong.
Yeah.
He was a killer, but he wasn't the killer that he thought he would be.
So, what I was trying to get to on my analysis of Full Metal Jacket is that in the Vietnam era war, this wasn't a particularly popular war for Americans. And that is what Joker had saw. I mean, most of the men probably thought about the same thing and thought that this is not a popular war and why are they fighting and why am I here? Why is this asshole yelling at me, but I'm just going to do it so I can just get on with the rest of my life. So Joker had saw this from the beginning, and that's why his character's kind of essential to this movie. I mean, he did conform in a sense the most he can. He didn't rebel or anything. He just kind of had a snarky attitude towards everything, and I think that's why his character was so genius to me. So, like I was saying, is that the Vietnam War did tear Joker, and it did make him question the duality of man, which is, why is this happening? Why are we fighting against each other, pretty much? And which I think is the reason why he wears the peace symbol, is him trying to... In himself, he's trying to think of a peaceful method, but on the top of his head, he has Born to Kill on it, which is just comes into his split personality, his split character where he just contradicts himself all the time. I think the most interesting thing is when he actually does make the judgment of killing that Vietnamese woman, and that's what makes Joker into Joker, and that's what finally draws him into what he always wanted to be, which was a killer. So from that, with that being said, I would like to say that the things that Stanley Kubrick had saw in the Vietnam War was not settling to him, and so he wondered the duality of man and what was man's purpose in fighting this war. And he focused on the toll it would take on not only the men who fought in the Vietnam War, but also the toll that it will take on the countries that had fought in this war. And that's my analysis.
I found that really interesting, yeah. I think I agree pretty similarly with your analysis on it. I just see it, it's a group, it's a story about a man who is built upon throughout the film as he's trying to obtain his goal of being a soldier. But you see every soldier, they're so different, and it feels like each soldier has their own personality, and they're all just so different, but they're all trying to kind of have the same goal as well. And they obtain their goal in a certain way, but they find themselves obtaining their goal through death. They die. And Joker, the only one who throughout the film is kind of divided, he finds himself fighting for survival near the end, and as he survives, and by pure luck, it's given him this opportunity to be, I think, beyond a soldier. Yeah, I don't think to discredit any sort of soldier in any sense, not to say that a soldier cannot do what he was doing, but I think that he recognized he was above the war in the sense of he could no longer be a part of the war.
Yeah.
He did not have what it took to kill. He could not do that. And he did do it, but it wasn't for the reason of killing them to kill them.
For his country.
He did it because he felt just basically the humanity and seeing someone else suffering. He could not stand for that. Morally, he could not stand for her suffering. And I think throughout the film, it's just a bunch of people suffering, and they're finding their ways to fight upon this war, but nobody wanted, not even the Vietnamese people wanted them there. So what were they really fighting for? Basically, Joker is basically not even fighting for the war. He's just fighting to find out who he is. It's a really interesting concept I think Stanley Kubrick was going for. It was beyond just the idea. It was a really interesting way of seeing war.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a war pro film, I think.
No, I don't think it was either. I mean, it's kind of hard to make a pro-Vietnamese war. Vietnam era war. But yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, I definitely agree upon that. If anything, I could say it was fantastic. I loved every second of it. I'm glad that Renee recommended it to me because I think, honestly, I truly understand why they would say it's an instant classic.
Yeah, it's fucking wild, and why so many people like me and myself love it, and why it was one of my favorite films for so many years. But yeah, I guess
definitely it's a must watch.
It's definitely a must watch. If you haven't seen it, please see it, and I hope if you have seen it, I'm sorry, but if you have seen it, and
definitely take if there's any of the Stanley Kubrick films, you should watch it. This is definitely one of them.
Yeah,
this is 100%. You got to find it as quickly as possible. It's on Netflix. That's how we saw it. So
been on Netflix for years.
But yeah, this was Full Metal Jacket. It was with me and Renee, and I know that probably y'all are thinking like, "Damn, this was fucking serious and boring as shit," and it probably was, maybe to some of you. But we'll let you know right now that the next movie that we do review, it will definitely not be this serious. But we like to kind of do this. We kind of thought it was kind of fun to kind of get on the more serious side of the movies, even though some of it's kind of comical in Full Metal Jacket. So so Full Metal Jacket, watch it. We liked it. We approved of it.